But after that experience, I was just like, holy crap, like if I don't step out of my comfort zone, I will never grow, and that is just so upsetting. Even if you don't think that you have the qualification for a certain role, just send that CV in, just send that cover letter in. Like, that is the best tip I can give you. Hello, my name is Nicole and I am a British born Chinese, currently working and living in Hong Kong. I have been here for over a year now, so I just feel like now is the right time to share my experiences with you and just, you know, kind of do a review on how it's been over here. I have a Word document next to me and I wrote down several things that I want to talk about. I'm also going to be doing timestamps, so please check the description box if you kind of want to skip some things or you want to focus on one topic. I just thought it would be easier for you guys. I'm also going to stumble a little bit with my words because I also speak Cantonese now that I am living here. I feel like my Cantonese isn't quite there. I mean, it's never been quite there. I can only really speak like conversational Cantonese, and then my English has kind of like taken a step back. A colleague would probably ask me, hey, does this sentence make sense? And I'll be like, you know what, it's probably best to Google it because I'm not even sure anymore. Anyway, I am also losing my British accent kind of, because a lot of the people that I speak to in English kind of have an American or Canadian accent, or just they speak in Chinglish, which is a mix of Chinese and English. The topic that I want to talk about first is my previous experience in Hong Kong. First of all, my parents are from Hong Kong. Well, my mum was born and raised in Hong Kong, and then she moved to the UK when she was a young adult, and she met my dad in the UK. And my dad was born in England just like me, also British born Chinese, but he was raised as a kid in Hong Kong, and then he went back to the UK to do like further studies and just stayed there to settle down. I mean, he met my mum. She was an immigrant, and yeah, they tied the knot. They had my brother and I, and we both grew up in England as well. I would come to Hong Kong like at least once or twice every 3 years, and I would come back to visit my relatives, and I guess, you know, my parents want to spend time with their relatives, their family here, and just show us a bit more about our own culture. So we would stay at a relative's place every time we came back, which became more and more inconvenient as we grew up, and rent here is expensive, and if we could stay at our relatives, then why bother booking a hotel? Like, you know, we're Chinese, we like to save money every way possible. So yeah, I did get exposed to the Hong Kong culture from a young age, and actually when I was between the age of 4 and 5, I did come back and live here for 1 year. I went to school for that year, I think, in Hong Kong. I remember the homework was tough. Like, I would always tell people, oh my god, I was like, what, 4 years old, and I would have 7 pieces of homework to do a day. Even back in the UK, like, of course we would have phone conversations with our relatives here. My parents also took me to Chinese school every Sunday, so I practiced my Cantonese. I did the GCSE Chinese exam when I was just 11 years old. I was like in year 7, and I remember walking down the examination hall and every kid, like older kids, were looking at me, because when you do GCSE you're about year 10, year 11, how old are you? Like 16 years old? So they were just like, what is this kid doing here? And then I did my Chinese AS exam when I was doing GCSEs. So yeah, like my Chinese was pretty okay back then, but then, you know, I didn't actually have that many Chinese friends growing up. Even at Chinese school, like, we wouldn't always converse in Cantonese. That was just how it was for us British born Chinese kids growing up. I do have a video talking about my experience, so if you want to watch that, then feel free to check out the description box. There are quite a few stupid comments, and what can we do about it? Like I said earlier, I moved to Hong Kong over a year ago. It's specifically mid-June of last year, so 2018, and during the first few months I did stay with a family, a relative in the new territory side, and now I am living on the Hong Kong Island side. It's a lot closer to work. I ended up getting my own studio, and it's pretty small. It's about 100 square feet, but it is comfortable enough for me. This place has like a little kitchen. I love to cook. It's just healthier and it saves money. So I have a kitchen, I have my own bathroom, I have a washing machine, I have a double bed and a wardrobe. Basically all the stuff that I really need. Although it does get a bit depressing because when I look outside my windows, I am just looking at the wall of another building right next door. Also, if I'm just stuck in this room for more than a day and a half, I do start to feel a bit shitty. It's not a good feeling. So, you know, it's like, this is my space where I'm supposed to relax, but it's also my space to do like filming or extra work. So everything's just molded into one. I definitely miss my home in the UK, but you gotta do what you gotta do. The reason why I moved to Hong Kong, actually there are multiple reasons as to why I moved here, but first of all, I actually considered going to South Korea to teach English. Pretty typical. The reason why was because I had so much fun as an exchange student in South Korea, and at that point, like after I graduated university or was about to graduate, I was in a job that I didn't really enjoy that much. I mean, I worked part-time, almost like a freelancer, but not really. Actually, at one point I worked part-time and I also had a freelance job, and it was just like slowly killing me. I was working with the company for over a year, and they were like, oh, once you graduate, well, then you can become full-time, but they just kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And I tried to look for another job, but it just wasn't possible. So I did the TEFL course, which is teaching English as a foreign language or as a second language. I even completed the course and I received a certificate, and I even prepared all of my documents so that I could apply for the visa to teach in Seoul. And when I was close to applying for everything, some things happened, life got in the way, and that then made me consider not moving to South Korea. So it was just like, yeah, I had fun while I was studying there, but at the same time, working is just a totally different thing. So I'm actually glad that I didn't end up teaching there. I mean, it would have been another cool life experience or sad life experience, but experience is experience at the end of the day, and it all goes towards self-growth. But anyway, after I gave up going to Seoul, I did visit like 2 more times after I left Korea. Yeah, after that I came to Hong Kong again last April. It was like March, April. I met up with some friends here, and my parents also flew to Hong Kong with me, and it was just a great time. It was actually like my first proper time just exploring Hong Kong without my family, because every time I visited Hong Kong I would only be spending time with my relatives here, and I would probably just stay in new territories. The furthest I would go is probably MK, Mongkok or Wonggok. And yeah, even the culture just like on the other side of Hong Kong is different to the culture on Hong Kong Island. Not by a lot, but there is still some difference because there's more diversity on Hong Kong Island. This is the area that most expats live in. It's the finance hub. So when I came back last March and April, I also met some like other expats, like Canadians, Australians. We had a jolly old good time. Jolly good time. We had a jolly great time. I don't know anymore. My English sucks. We just had fun, okay? I met all these people and they were like, yeah, working in Hong Kong is fun and everything. When we left Hong Kong to go back to our respective countries, we were just like, let's try and move to Hong Kong. Let's just go and apply for a job there. So we all started our job hunting online, of course. But actually, before I talk about the job, life in the UK was actually super slow as well. So I was still working that part-time job and freelance job at the same time, and since I didn't live in London, life was just extra slow. Like, it got really sad and upsetting. My student exchange experience just taught me that there is just so much more out there. Like, the city life is so exciting, and being cooped up in my room, like, because I worked part-time, like I was always working remotely. I would only go to the office in London like once or twice a week. I wasn't challenging myself. I wasn't learning anything new. I wasn't meeting people. I wasn't out of my comfort zone, and I really hated that. Before I went on my student exchange, I was just like so afraid of being outside of my comfort zone. But after that experience, I was just like, holy crap, like if I don't step out of my comfort zone, I will never grow, and that's just so upsetting. Speaking of stepping outside of your comfort zone, let's move on to how I found my current job. So I applied to about, I don't know, 30 to 40, maybe more than that, different roles online, and I used websites such as JobsDB, CP Jobs, CT Good Jobs, and LinkedIn, good old LinkedIn. There were also like some other websites, but I can't remember the name of those. I also did research on companies that I thought were interesting, and I'm not gonna lie, I am pretty picky. There were also quite a lot of jobs that required like fluency in Cantonese, Mandarin and English, and like I said, my Cantonese isn't like 100% fluent. When it comes down to the business lingo, like, I'm just rubbish. Just don't even go there, you know. So there were jobs that seemed interesting, but I couldn't apply to them. But in the end, I found my current job on LinkedIn, and you guys, seriously, even if you don't think that you have the qualification for a certain role, just send that CV in, just send that cover letter in. Like, that is the best tip I can give you, because the role that I applied for through LinkedIn was for a senior position, and I was still someone that people called me a fresh grad, you know. I mean, they will call you a fresh grad even if you've had multiple job experiences, and like, I worked for 1 year, but people say, oh, it's not really a proper job because, you know, you've only graduated for 1 year, like, or you're still working part-time even if it's like a proper company and it's not just retail, like just stuff like that. So yeah, I applied for that job on LinkedIn. It was like beginning of May. Like, I was on the verge of having a breakdown, having those two jobs, my part-time and freelance, and I was just so stressed. But I had this interview with the guy that hired me, and we legit just had a what, 15-20 minute WhatsApp call, and that was that. He was like, yeah, you're hired. Okay, well, he told me to wait for, I don't know, up to 1 or 2 weeks, and then he emailed me literally 1 hour later and was like, here is the job offer, and sent me the contract. So I'm still shook by how quick I found the job. Everything happened so fast. Like, he wanted me to move to Hong Kong literally 2 weeks later after I signed the contract, and I was just like, I have other things to do. I actually had a trip booked for Italy, so I moved about a month later, and now here I am. I'm still with the company. This is the last topic that I'm going to talk about, and it's basically 3 of the biggest differences between UK and Hong Kong. But keeping in mind, back in the UK, I didn't live in the city. I lived in a small town in Kent, which is like a countryside, and I was like 1 hour drive away from London, and I did kind of go to London for work every week anyway. It's just I had to commute for over 1 hour, and the train tickets were so expensive, and it just felt like such a waste of time, and the train times were awful. But anyway, number 1, the living space is very different. So if you haven't been to Hong Kong before, then you will probably be shocked by how tiny the apartments here are, especially on Hong Kong Island. You can get bigger living spaces in like Kowloon, New Territories, especially like in villages, because they actually have houses and stuff. Some of the house owners, they will like rent out like 1 or 2 floors because they probably don't need all that space, and it's just another good way of making extra money. I don't know how much it costs to rent a small apartment in London. I'm pretty sure I can afford a bigger space if I was making the same amount as I do now. So I live about, like I said, 13-minute tram ride away from work, and I live kind of like central of Hong Kong Island. It's nice, it's super convenient, and I'm actually paying like a similar amount as to what my cousin is paying in the UK. She also lives in Kent, and the size of my studio is about the same size as her bedroom, probably. And her place has 2 bedrooms, I think, if I remember correctly, and she has 2 bathrooms and a huge kitchen and living space area, and also a hallway. So this place is tiny, yet I'm paying the same amount. It's pretty insane. So number 2, poor waste management and a lack of recycling facilities. Back in the UK, we get multiple bins. You get one for like what, compost? Yeah, you get a small compost bin. You get one for like paper, what, foil, no not foil, tins, and like glass, and then you get another one for like actual rubbish. And it just sucks that you don't really get that here. Everything just goes into the bin. I mean, there are actually quite a few shops now, or like services, that are working on the whole like zero waste thing, and kudos to them. There are some places that have like the compost bin, but I'm not sure if there is one here where I live. It's just inconvenient, you know. Okay, even at work we do have like one little bin for like paper and cardboard boxes, and just the other day, like, a colleague of mine just threw the tissue box into the bin, and I was like, why don't you just put that into the recycling bin? And he was like, oh, where is it? I was just like, it's literally right by the door, like you walk past it every day and you didn't even realize. Just rip off the plastic bit, you know, and then throw the box into the recycling bin. It's honestly not hard. Okay, staying on the same topic, everything is based on convenience here, because most people in Hong Kong have extremely long working hours, and plus their kitchens at home are probably very small, or they live with their family members and like it's a huge family, or just they have a small apartment and they either don't know how to cook or never learned how to cook, and just eating out is the easiest option. They will go out to buy lunch, they will go out to buy dinner, or they will eat at the restaurant, and a lot of people do have takeaways very often. So with takeaways, they probably don't bring their own containers, and that leads to those one-time use containers. The amount of disposables used on a day-to-day basis is just insane. I've got to admit that, you know, I'm not the best at not using disposables, because I do use disposables from time to time, but the thing is that I cook more often than I buy lunch. If I'm having dinner by myself, then I typically come home and cook again, so I'm not always buying food in the plastic containers and stuff. I mean, even with grocery shopping, you get oranges wrapped in plastic wrap. It's really stupid, but I'm not sure if this is true, but I feel like the food gets wrapped up here because there are loads of insects in Hong Kong. Like, if you leave food out, then there are gonna be cockroaches trying to eat that food, so maybe that's why there's so much plastic packaging, but I honestly don't know. The third biggest difference that I've noticed is that the public transportation system is honestly incredible in Hong Kong. Back in Kent, I would have to wait like at least 1 hour for a bus, so if I miss that bus, then it'll be another hour, or I'll just walk home. If I miss my train, I would have to wait another 30 minutes. It's just so expensive. Like, what, it costs about £25 for a return ticket to London from Kent, whereas here I take the tram to work and it only costs 2.6 Hong Kong dollars, so that's like 20 pence. It's super good, and it's also, the tram is also the better option for the environment, which I'm pretty proud of. So yeah, public transportation is amazing. So yeah, the MTRs, the buses, everything just comes so often, so frequently. They are so frequent and usually so on time that people here probably get pissed off when the MTRs are slightly delayed, like maybe by a minute or two. The underground in London is good, but of course they have like their breakdowns and stuff. Same with the trains, like if it's snowing they have a breakdown, if it's super hot they have a breakdown. And the worst of it is the underground doesn't have air conditioning. That is definitely something that I don't miss. Okay, I think it's about time to wrap up this video because I can honestly just go on and on about specific topics, but this is a very long video. Of course, if you have any questions or you want me to go more in depth about a specific topic, please feel free to leave me a message or comment down below, whatever you prefer. Overall, I am very happy with my life right now in Hong Kong. I'm super content about a lot of things, and if I'm not content, then you know, I better make some changes, which is what I've learned. Of course, I've had my ups and downs, and just like recently I came back from the UK 2 to 3 months ago, and I was so depressed coming back. But anyway, like I'm so over that, and I've had to battle loneliness from time to time, but it's fine. I just gotta put myself out there, meet new people, get on with life, you know. The sense of belonging, the mix of cultures are topics that I'm very interested in. I love talking about these things with my friends, especially those who, you know, can relate. So maybe one day I'll share my view on these things. But anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video, and please take care as always. Bye.